Welcome to Reading Difficulties by Eleanor Armstrong. The process of reading is a complex interaction of skills. It begins early in life through a family environment, using and sharing text, print, discussions, songs, and games, as well as writing, sharing stories, exploring pictures, and print. Here, children have an opportunity to experiment and engage with sounds, letters, and print. While starting incidentally, it embeds a curious mind to engage more and develop a desire to use likewise. This foundation block leads to more conventional use of print for reading and writing. Now, let's talk about some of the issues surrounding reading difficulties. The first issue is that the ABS data 2007 reveals approximately 46% of the population have difficulty with prose reading and 47% with document text. The second issue, research suggests some reading difficulties are related to biological deficits that make the process of sound-symbol relationships difficult. In other cases, the source is experimental, and research suggests the following to be potential causes. Teaching methods, time allocated for learning, language ability, phonological awareness, social and cultural disadvantage, factors intrinsic to the learner, and effective response to failure. The third issue is additional challenges include behavioural issues, student emotional well-being, and social difficulties. It is not uncommon for students with learning disabilities to experience significant feelings of loneliness. The fourth and final issue being effective teachers and strategies. Research suggests effective strategies are vital in ensuring students with a reading difficulty are catered for in every classroom. These strategies will be further explained on in the video. Now, let's look at some of the current arguments and debates around reading difficulties. The 21st education system and classrooms are constantly being discussed in the public forum. Some examples are NAPLAN testing, crowded curriculum, literacy standards of teachers, and trade workers not keeping up with the reading and writing demands. One big question is, should students with reading difficulties be exposed to such NAPLAN testing and standardized testing? Well, these questions and arguments will be an ongoing debate when the real issue is strategically identifying the learner's needs and getting on with resolving them strategically and consistently. Now, let's have a look into what does the legislation and the Australian curriculum actually say. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, enacted in 1975, mandates that every child has the right to free public education. While students with learning difficulties don't always have a disability, the Australian Government states that regardless, the school does not need a formal diagnosis of a learning disability to provide students with support, and continues to state that schools identify and respond to learning needs regardless of cause throughout ongoing monitoring and assessment of students. Schools are able to support these students by differentiating teaching practices, assistive technology, and where necessary, focused and intensive teaching. The Australian curriculum has been designed in order to create a relationship between the three dimensions to be flexible for students' needs to be individualized to the curriculum. Research indicates the four most influential strategies to best successfully help a student with reading difficulties are: number 1, early identification; 2, early intervention; 3, a three-tiered approach; and 4, explicit quality teaching. Now you too might be wondering, how do teachers actually identify reading difficulties? Methods of identifying reading difficulties include observations, screening tests, informal tests, and formal tests. Observations are crucial to identifying the earliest signs that foreshadow a reading difficulty. A screening test is a brief assessment that is intended to identify children who are at risk of educational or learning problems. Screening tests are limited and may not identify a child's specific learning needs, or more so, intentional testing is required. Some examples of an informal test include graded word list, graded passages, and comprehension questions for the passages.
created using Powtoon.